Hello, and welcome to another edition of our meetings together. Today we're going to talk about the new Gmail. Today is the actual opening night day, I should say, of Google I/O 2018, and I'll be doing something a little different. I'll be answering people's questions and comments directly during this whole presentation. So hopefully I'll be able to manage two things at the same time. So it's kind of a little different than what we usually do. The keynote presentation by Google is going to start in about an hour, so we'll try to wrap everything up before then. So let's take a look at the new Gmail and start going point by point. Let me just grab the screen share for you and jump there, and voila, there is the new Gmail. Just turn on the present to everyone. Okay. As you can clearly see, I'm just kidding. This is not the new Gmail. This is the old Gmail. So the old Gmail comes up, and everybody knows what it looks like. Obviously, I have a special background, so mine looks a little different than yours potentially. But everybody's used to. Everybody knows what it does, so we won't go into that. So to get to the new Gmail right now, you simply pull down the cog on the top right corner there. And the very first thing underneath there, as you can see, it says try new Gmail. I know Zara is going to complain that it's too hard to see, so we'll make it a little bit bigger. All right, so try new Gmail. So when you click on new Gmail, one thing I want you to notice is that it comes up pretty quickly. I mean, boom, there we are. Now we're in new Gmail. So again, the first thing is that you have a new look. We'll see that it definitely looks somewhat different, as you can see already probably. But at the same time, it's blazingly fast. I'm running on a brand new computer here, which is super quick. So your results might not be quite as fast if you're running an old computer. But if you have a fairly modern machine running, it's amazing how fast it is and how fast it comes up. I mean, it comes up much, much faster than regular Gmail does. So just to give you an example here, if I'm going to go back to the old Gmail, which is you do the same way, you can see it says loading, 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 and then finally it comes up. So not too bad, but at the same time, definitely slower. It already has a lot of stuff in cache. You go to new Gmail, pops up with this nice new logo, and boom, there we are. So much, much quicker. So that's very much a positive thing. So we'll just start from the left, from the top, and go down. So on the left, you can see buttons here. It's got Compose, Campaigns. You won't have the Campaigns button on your Gmail, most likely, because I'm running a special extension that you may not have, and that's why I have this button. So for now, just ignore it. So Compose button, as you can see, is very different looking. It's not squarish looking, it's kind of oval looking. And to be honest with you, personally, I don't like the shape of it, but that's what they decided to do, and that's what they did. And then below, you have the same kind of stuff you had before, but as you can see, in terms of text and everything, it's a little bit more readable. Things are a little bit bigger, even though I made the screen even bigger to be easier to see. But if I go to regular size screen, you can see that it's a lot of things that come up here are more visible and a little bit easier to read. So let me zoom in a little bit closer so you can see. Okay, so what do they do that's different? The first thing you'll notice is that the interface is virtually the same. I mean, everything kind of looks the same, works the same, so it's pretty cool from that standpoint. You don't have to relearn anything. That's the first thing to know. Second thing is that they have basically a way to change the density, they call it. If you go to settings, they have an option here called display density. And if you click on it, you have three variants. You have default, which is what we're looking at now, comfortable, and compact. The comfortable compact doesn't really have that much difference between it. If you click on it, it kind of gives you an overview what it looks like. So essentially, comfortable, compact are the same, except the spacing between the messages is a little bit higher in comfortable and a little bit smaller in compact, but they're identical otherwise. Default is the thing that's new and different. As you can see, it's got some icons there and it's got some other stuff. So what does it mean? It means that whenever you have messages, let me see if I can find some for you in a second. Man, I'm not finding any for you. Let me see if I got some here. No. Promotions, no. Updates. Oh, this is just too sad, but I can't find any right now. Basically, what it means if you have an attachment, you just find some attachments. When you have some attachments, they'll show up. That is weird. It's not what it's supposed to do here. For some reason, there must be some kind of little bug. Anyway, they're supposed to show up. Normally, it does show up. I don't know why it doesn't show up now. Normally, it basically would show up looking like it shows up here, where each attachment is shown underneath the message. And then it actually has a little icon identifying what it is. So like this would be a spreadsheet, and this would be an image, and this would be a Google slide presentation, doc. So you have an easier way to see what kind of document it is, number one. And number two, it shows you, it's just amazing to me, it doesn't work right now. It shows you the, here we go. That's what it's supposed to look like right there. For some reason in my other split mode, it doesn't do it. Weird. Okay, so it's a bug. It's a bug. But anyway, if we go with a no split, then you can see right here, it shows like PDF, and it's got a little image thing and things like that. Okay, so if you click on it, here's the nice thing about the way they did it. If you click on the attachment itself, notice I have a list of messages. I'm not clicking on the message, I'm just clicking on the attachment. If you click on the attachment, it actually opens up the attachment itself, and obviously you can see it, you can print it, depending on what it is, do all kinds of different things with it. But the beauty of this approach is you don't have to click on the message first and then on the attachment to open it. You can just open it with a single click. So that is awesome how they did that. I'm sure it'll fix the bug, and because it's supposed to work with that in all modes. But basically, that's what it looks like. You got these different deals. So if I want to look at this image, for example, I click here, and there's the image right there. I click on here, and this image comes up. So everything comes up immediately, and everything comes up directly from the attachment. You can see it in this mode, so it's very, very nice, very convenient. Again, depending on how you prefer to do things, but if you prefer to do things in that kind of manner, you can do it. And if you go to either, if you go, for example, into the density, let's go to like compact, for example, then the way it should look is like this, where you have the little paper clips as attachments. And as you can see right now, because of the new functionality, I can't even click on it, which is pretty interesting. So that's another little discrepancy there. But anyway, let's go back to the way we were before, this kind of mode, and we'll make it the way I usually run it, like this. So I usually have a bunch of messages, messages themselves going up and down. And then when you click on the message, it highlights it, which is nice. And it shows you the message on the right side here. So that's what they call vertical split, which is kind of nice. They basically made, if you change themes, and if you go, you pull down the menu here, and if you go to themes, and if you go with the default theme, like this one here, let's just change this for a second. You can see this is what the kind of look you will get by just going with defaults. Default basically looks very similar in terms of colors to Microsoft Outlook. So I think they tried to do the deal the way they did, specifically to kind of show that they can be just as nice looking in a way, and just as potent as Microsoft did a nice job with their Outlook email client. And so this is what Google did with theirs, to kind of be in the same kind of mode. This is normal size text you see here for Gmail right now. So it looks like this. It's pretty nice. It's actually pretty nice. You have the options here at the top. You have the various kinds of folders you can open here, including your ability to do phone calls like before. You can do Hangouts, chats like before, look at context like before. I mean, all of that stuff. And over here, as you can see, I got all my labels there, tons of them. And so it's a little bit nicer the way they show label and sub-labels when you have multiple indentations like here, for example, and stuff. So it's really nice and pretty readable, nicer than before. So they did a pretty good job there. So the density thing is, again, if we go back to vertical split is like this. If we go to horizontal, normal stuff would be like that, and horizontal split would be where it shows messages at the top, and then the content of this each message when you click on it at the bottom. Okay, so that's the splits. All right. One of the things that's annoying is when you try to, for example, delete a message or archive it or anything like that. For example, I click on this message, even if I go ahead and click on delete, it's going to give me at the bottom here, it says your conversation has been moved to trash, learn more or undo. The undo used to be like you can set it for like 10 seconds or whatever. Now you can see it just sits there. And it's going to sit there and going to sit there and it's going to sit there until I click on something else. The problem with this, even though it's not a bad idea to give you a little bit more time so you don't screw it up, the problem with this approach is that, you know, as you can see as I'm scrolling, it's actually concealing part of my messages down the bottom here, which means I can't look at them without scrolling off, you know, scrolling up or scrolling down, so I can actually get to the message you want to look at. And so that's the part they just, you know, it's a brand new release, so they haven't really polished it, if you will, just a little bit unpolished. It's not that it's bad, it just, you can see clearly that it's a problem because it eats up so much of this screen space here that I can't read part of my messages here. And the whole idea with showing part of the message here in each of these lines is to be able to see exactly what it starts with so you can do something with it. And then eventually, as you can see, I don't know what the timeout time is. I think it's at least a minute, maybe even 2. But if you click on on some kind of other message, if you actually click on something, then it goes away. So it's, you know, you can look at it as a feature, but I think they could have done a little better job with that. So I'm just going to go through things that are both positive and negative. So one of the things they implemented is what they call what's called, you know, quick actions. And quick actions is something that comes up, as you can see right here where I'm scrolling, when I'm hovering and not scrolling, I'm hovering through the messages. I got these 4 little guys moving right along with me. Okay, and you know what they are actually is same things that we have here at the top, which are archive, spam, delete. I'm sorry, not spam. Archive, delete, mark as read, and snooze is exactly what this is. We got archive, we got delete, we got mark as unread, and we got snooze. And so the snooze is a brand new option that works exactly like it works in Inbox by Gmail, which is the main reason I even used Inbox before, was because Gmail couldn't do this. And that is, you're able to take any message and you're able to snooze it by clicking on snooze. And you can snooze, it says until tomorrow, later this week, this weekend, next week, someday, which means it'll come back at some point, randomly, I guess. Or you can actually select date and time when you want it to come back to be visible. So it's a way for you to manage your inbox in a much more effective manner, where you can go through the messages, like usually I go through all the unread messages, and they quickly select the messages, for example, that they want to deal with later by selecting them, and then I just snooze them as I go through them until, you know, whenever I'm ready to take some action with them. So I click on a couple of messages, I can then click snooze, and then it's going to go ahead and get rid of them. And I'll just take, for example, this one here. I'm going to click on one to show you, and I click on snooze. As you can see, I can click right from the line, and I'm going to snooze it until tomorrow, let's say until Wednesday at 9 a.m. So I click on that, and that's it. It says now it's going to be snoozed till 9 a.m. Okay, and I don't know why it's shaking like this, but it's basically snoozed till 9 a.m. And it'll come back to me, so I can deal with it at that point in time. And yeah, right now it's basically gone from display. So it's a way to put things away for the future. If you're familiar with Inbox, it's exactly like snoozing in Inbox. It works exactly the same way. So very nice, convenient feature. Again, back to the quick action deals. You've got archive, you got delete, Mark on Red, and Snooze, and you might think, well, what's the big deal? I mean, we have them at the top two. What's such a big deal having them on each line? The reason is because normally you would click on a message to select it, and then you go and click on delete, or you click on multiple messages, you click on delete, and you go on archive, or whatever you're going to do like that, and you have to constantly keep moving the mouse up and down, up and down, up and down. This way, as you're going through messages, you can actually take care of it right there on the same line, so it's much, much more efficient to do it right from here. I mean, if I want to have, I want to archive this message, for example, I simply go ahead and click on archive, and it's gone. I want to archive this, I click on archive, or I want to delete this one. Let's delete this one right here, for example. I just click on it and it's gone. So I don't need to be going up to the top and selecting anything, go to the bottom. I can actually take care of any of these tasks, like make message on red or red, depending what its current status is. It automatically flips either way. Or I delete or archive or snooze directly from the line I'm on. So that definitely is a major time saver, and it's a wonderful feature they've added, these quick action capabilities. Let's see, next item I have here is, we talked about that. So snoozing initially actually did not work for me. And so what I did was yeah, see how much this conceals here? Incredible. So snoozing did not work, and I was trying to figure out why is it not working. They said that different features would be released and rolled out at different times, like Google does a lot of times in waves. So I just thought they didn't have, it wasn't my time yet. And what I realized that, coming to a few days ago, that it's not that. It's not that it hasn't rolled out because everybody else is showing it. Something must be wrong. And so after doing some research and everything, I found out that if you have the conversation mode off, which is what I had before, where each message is showing a separate line, as opposed to moving multiple messages together as a single conversation. What's happening then is the snooze does not get activated, and it doesn't work. I mean, you can't even click on it. So you have to have the conversation mode on, so it groups, bundles messages together, related messages. Then you're able to have the snooze option. So if you don't have the snooze option, that's most likely the culprit. You need to turn the conversation mode on in settings. And I'll show you where you go there. You go to settings, and you go to, in settings, you go down right here. It says conversation view, and you want to make sure it's on. Once it's on, you'll have the snoozing. If it's off, you will not have the snoozing. Okay? So that's how that part works. All right. Another thing that's kind of a blunder that they've done is the situation with reminders and tasks. They implemented a new version of tasks, which is actually pretty nice the way they did it. It's nice in terms of not necessarily how it works. It's almost identical to the tasks they used to have. It just looks a lot better. I mean, they made it very beautiful and nice looking. It's all material design. In the whole Gmail is now material design, so it's much nicer. And so it's very nice. You can go look at your tasks, and you can do, we'll kind of go over it in a minute about what you can do with it. But the problem is that if you go to calendar to look at your tasks, let's jump into the new calendar, which is, they also did a wonderful job with that. As you can see here, I don't have any tasks. I mean, you can't see it, but really I don't. Okay, there's no tasks there. Nothing but reminders, which are these red lines here, different reminders. So how do I get to tasks? Well, the answer is you cannot get to tasks. The way you do get to tasks is down here. When you look at my calendars, there's a line that says reminders. Okay, so it's set up as additional calendar, basically, that they set it up automatically. And so the way you get to tasks is by pulling down the menu next to reminders and selecting option switch to tasks right there. That's the only way. When you do that, then you're going to see your tasks. You can see the task list on the right here with this one option. If they have dates on them, they'll show up in the right place and things like that. But that's the only way you can see it. I mean, there is no other way to do it. And if you want to see reminders, then you got to go back and select the same option from tasks to go to switch to reminders. I don't quite understand. I mean, I kind of understand why they did this, because theoretically, if you're using tasks, there's no real reason to do any reminders, because Task will do the same thing. If you put a date and time, it will remind you. But it's just, I don't know, to me, it's really strange because in some instances you do want to use reminders. In other instances, you want to use tasks. And I just don't understand why they couldn't just simply make both of these things be calendars as separate entities, and have people enable it as they enable any other calendars, where you click on the calendar to enable it, you click on it to disable it. It's as simple as that. I can turn off reminders this easily, so why not have both of them? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me why they did it this way. There is definitely a little bit of an overlap in terms of functionality, because you set up tasks to get something done, you set up reminders. It's also kind of like a task to get something done. But because they are different and they work differently, I wish they would have done it this other way. So just remember, what you need to do is you want to get to tasks. You need to pull down the reminder calendar under My Calendars, select Switch to Tasks to view those, and then to go back, you do the same thing under where it says Tasks. You click on that and select Switch to Reminders. And so you'll have to deal with that because that's how it works. Another disappointment about Gmail, new Gmail, even though there's a lot of great stuff about it, is that you cannot send money anymore. And I think that's part of the Google Send, what they call Google Send now, and Google Pay, basically. The new Google Pay, which gives you the functionality to send and receive money. I think that's why they pulled it out. I don't think it's a problem with Gmail so much as the fact that they went to this other direction and used the other app. But it was nice to be able to send people a little message and money as an attachment. And you can still do that in G Suite. I just checked one of my G Suite accounts, and it still has the ability to send money directly from email, from Gmail, but not in regular Gmail anymore. That's not an option anymore. As you can see, there is no attachment of money anymore. It used to be a $sign there. So that's a little disappointing, but maybe they'll add it later. I don't know. But like I said, if you have a G Suite account, the old Google Apps, as they call it, account, then you will be able to send money, at least at this point. I think they're probably going to remove it from there as well, because usually the other Gmail is usually, the other services are catch up to main ones. So they kind of, I think they're going to do the same thing. I don't know for sure, but I think they're going to do the same thing. One other thing that's gone right now that used to be there is the labs. If you go to settings, you used to have these different labs that allow you to have different functionality, such as ability to display, for example, horizontal break on emails, or vertical break, or no break. That used to be something you enabled through labs, and there was a bunch of other labs. So what they did is some of the labs will end up being moved into full functionality, and other labs got replaced by what they call advanced. There's a menu right here called advanced. If you click on advanced, it gives you some of the old labs features that are part of this advanced category now, and the other ones are simply gone. So right now in this advanced, you can set up auto advance. So whenever you're going through the messages and for example, you delete or archive or mute conversation, it knows where to go up or down. That's what auto advance does. It automatically jumps. Canned messages allow you to set up templates, so you can send emails with certain predefined templates or signatures. Like in my case, for example, if I go back to inbox and I create a message, we'll just do a quick message, we won't send anything. Down on the bottom, if you pull down the little hamburger menu, you can see it's got this option called canned messages. And one of the features, one of the ones I have, for example, is my PCS signature. So if I simply, I want to better click where I want it to go. If I simply click on it, it drops basically this in here, where it says, it's got my name, it's got the link, it's got the company name, all of that. So you can easily add all kinds of different things like that and create various signatures and other snippets you can put in as message. So that's what they call canned messages. And you can actually create entire messages that you can, using filters, auto send. This is a little beyond our discussion today, but you can do stuff like that. So the canned messages are pretty handy to use. You can even set up something like email on demand, which I covered in another Hangout. So other advanced features they have are Preview Pane, which is this feature here that enables you to have display with vertical, horizontal split, or no split. That's what this does. If you disable it, you won't have this option. It will be just a list of messages. You can enable custom keyboard shortcuts, so you can define your own. I don't use that. I just use regular ones, so it's disabled. You can have multiple inboxes, which I also don't use. You can have right side chat, which just moves the chat from left to right. So the chat right now is here on the left. If you use right side chat, it will move it over to the right. That's all. And a red message icon, it shows how many unread messages in your inbox at a glance. Also, kind of like a little bit gimmicky. So nothing earth-shattering. I mean, I definitely recommend turning on canned responses, preview pane, and you know, if you have some other ones that you like and you want to use, fine. But those would be the main ones I would definitely recommend. And so that's what happened to Labs. And another thing they've added, if you noticed, I don't know if you noticed that or not, that I have tasks sitting on the right like it used to be. But actually on the right, if you close it, you can see there is additional narrow column here with several different icons for different apps. As you can see, there's calendar, there's keep, and there's tasks. So tasks is what I showed you before. That's how you jump into tasks, and we can go over it shortly here. But the beauty about these things is that there's some integration with some of this. And also, mostly, it's not so much integration as just cooperation, meaning you can launch them from here. For example, I can click on calendar, and it's going to put up my calendar for today. And I can see everything going on. I can jump to tomorrow. So you can basically work in your calendar while you're sitting in your email. You know, I'm sitting in the email here, you know, I can look at my calendar at the same time. So it's pretty handy. It's nice. You can do that. If you jump out like this, you can actually jump directly into the entire calendar, open it, you know, so it'll open the full deal. So you can do that. You can close it, obviously. You can jump to, if you click on today, it'll jump to today's date. You can jump to next day, whatever date you want. You can also click on the calendar and actually jump to whatever date you want. So it's very convenient. It's very quick. And it's a really nice way to be able to, when you're working in email, to be able to have both email and calendar open at the same time. One thing that's not nice about it is I can't take a message, for example, here and simply move it to the calendar. You know, it lets me drag, but it doesn't actually move it there. So that's one feature that I think would be extremely handy. I'll show you shortly here when we go into tasks exactly how you can actually accomplish the same thing. But that requires a couple of steps. It would have been much nicer if they just let you simply move a message, drag the message, I should say, over to a particular date and time, and have it create an event at that particular moment with the link to the email message. In the old days, if you use Gmail, the old Gmail with tasks, you used to be able to say, used to be able to add the task to your calendar by specifying a date, and then when it created that event on the calendar, it would actually have a link to go back to this particular message. And it still works the same way in that regard, but it would have been so much easier if they just let you do the same thing with one drag and drop. Maybe they will do it, but right now that's not how it works. So you can't move the email directly into calendar. You can just basically use them side by side. So that's the calendar part. The keep part is pretty cool too, because you can actually do what I just said. I can take a message and I can drop it here. So I could. Okay, I take it back. I can't do that. So see, it's not very intuitive the way they did it. So let me show you again what's happening here. What they did was they set it up so you're looking at your, you know, various keep notes, and it's side by side with Gmail. If you want to move email, like this email here, and create a new keep note, you can't just drag it. It's not going to work. Okay, as you saw, it's not going to work. What does work is if you select the message on the left. You don't have to select in terms of actual checkbox. You just have to click on it. So that's the current message. Once you click on it, it goes blue. If you click on take note, notice it automatically puts in the part of the message here. And so basically it has a reference to the email, and then you can actually create test email. This is a test, and you can type in as much as you want, and then you click done, and you have a new, new keep card, basically new keep note, right? So it sounds pretty cool. You can do that, right? But the problem is that if you go back to, if we open this thing, for example, open and keep, there is the card. If I click on potential issue here, notice that it doesn't select anything, nor does it open anything. It simply jumps to Gmail. I mean, that's all it does. And this message happens to be on this page, but when I try to do it from a different page, no go. Same thing. It just simply launches Gmail. And that's, of course, makes it totally useless in terms of having that reference and that note specifically, to have supposed link to the email message, and yet you can't see the email message. You can't pull it up. So I think it's a genuine bug. I think they meant it to be openable, but right now it's not openable. So that's how the keep works. Right now you could do this, but it's only of marginal usefulness. And then, of course, with tasks, they did the stuff the way it should have been done. So with tasks, the way tasks work, if you open up a task, what you can do is if you drag, as you can see, now it opens up. It says drop to create new task. So I can go ahead and drop it in there. It says the actual heading of the message, the headline, the subject, I should say, not heading. The subject of the message, you can see, is totally visible here. It also has the reference here. So if we went to, we can edit details, do whatever we want. Let's say we want to add a date. So we can add a date for, let's put it for Wednesday the 9th. And we can also, as you can see, add subtasks. And it's got a link to the email, which is nice. So we're done. Let's say we're done. So we'll get out of this. And there's our tab. We can even close the task. So if we go to the calendar now, and we switch from reminders to tasks, remember we need to switch to be able to see them. On the 9th, there is the deal. It's right there. You can see the make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. You can see right here, this is this task specifically for that message. So if I click on it, it opens it up and it says it's Wednesday, May 9th, view related email, and it's from my list called Oleg's list. Okay, so you can mark it as done. So, if it's basically, since it's a task, you can do that. You can edit it here if you want. But if you click on view related email, look what it does. It opens up Gmail and actually goes right directly, opens up that particular message, which is exactly how you want it to work. So that's the only part they got done properly in terms of integration, is the tasks. You can drag tasks into tasks, email messages. It'll create email with reference to that particular, it create the task with reference to that particular email. And then if you put a date in it, it'll stick it in the calendar like the old task used to do. But if you go to the calendar and you see the link, it'll drop you right back to that email. So essentially, it's doing what I mentioned earlier, whereby I said it would be nice if you can just take a Gmail message and move it to the calendar, so to be able to reference it back. With this approach, what I just showed you, you're doing the same thing. You just have to move it to tasks first, then put a date in there, and then when you go back to the calendar and you open up that particular task, you can see that there is a link to the email, and you can go right back to that email. So essentially, you can accomplish the same thing. It just takes a few more steps, but it does work. In a particular case, it does work. So that's the task. And the task, for those who don't know how the tasks work, what you can do with tasks is you can set up a bunch of lists. So here's at the top, it says lists. I got a couple of lists. You can create new lists, so you can have as many lists as you want. There may be a limit, I don't know, but I don't know what it would be, what it is. You can add tasks by just clicking adding task. And in each task, you just simply indicate, here's my new task. It's as simple as that. And you hit enter, it goes to a new one, new one, new one. You can add as many things as you want. If you want to put dates on them, you click on the little pencil to edit it. And then you can add additional details. Here are more details task. And at the same time, you can optionally put a date if you want it to show up on the calendar and have reference to a date. You can also add subtasks. So also to get this done. Okay, and you can add as many subtasks as you want. So this way you have ability to have, this is where it's better than what used to be, because in the old days they only had tasks. Now they have tasks and subtasks. So it makes it a little bit more um, a little bit more elaborate and a little bit more functional, I should say. And of course, you can easily delete it. You can get out of this thing, and you can jump back to the list here. Everything is broken down by dates, so you can easily see what has dates, what doesn't have dates. If I want to delete this empty task, I can just click on that and click delete. Now here, what would be nice if they had the same action, quick action icons here, because it would be nice to simply click on something here to say delete it, but there's no such thing. I can only click on it, which enables me to type in a message. But if I want to delete it, actually I have to click on details, edit details, and then click on delete, and then delete it. So definitely not as efficient as it should be or as it could be, but that's how it works. And then if you want to, check it off like it's done, you just click check it off, and it's gone, and it goes under completed. So you can see all your completed tasks by opening up that little panel. So it's pretty simple. You can easily jump between lists like that, and then each list will have its own set of tasks. You can, again, put things in a calendar by just assigning a date. So it's very simplistic. It's not very sophisticated task management program. There's a lot more sophisticated programs out there that do tasks, but it's decent enough for coming up with some basic lists and then marking things done. I mean, for a single person. As you can see, there is no collaboration of any kind. You can't assign people to this, and it's not Asana or anything like that. But at the same time, it's for simple stuff. It's not bad. It's pretty cool, and it's got integration with the calendar and everything. So it's nice. They did a good job with the tasks, and the tasks are now available as an app, as an separate app on Google Play Store for your Android. I'm not sure if they have it for iOS. They might, but basically, let's just look at the App Store and see if you can find it. But for Android, they definitely have a new app for tasks. Works exactly the same way as here. You just do it on your phone, basically. It's a nice app, all material design, very nice. I'm sure they'll be adding more things to it too as things evolve. And also, let's close this, and then over here, so basically you have these three things that come up, but notice I also have one more. In this case, it's called DocuSign. So what they allow you to do is add additional tasks below this little separator by clicking on the plus, and it'll get you add-ons. Basically, I have a bunch of add-ons you can pick from. They have CRM, they have mail merge, like over here for doing mass Gmails. Most of them are rated pretty highly, so 23,000 users at almost 5 stars. So definitely, it looks like it's worth setting something like this up. I use a different program right now, but I might try this one too. But there's a bunch of different ones you can see. If there's something for you you want to do, you can always Trello, different other things too. So you can add it as an add-on, and then you're going to have an icon for it. So when you want to use it, you can just simply click on it, and it's going to come up with the interface. I just added DocuSign today. This is authorize. I'm going to authorize my account. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and allow it to use me, and that's it. So now I can log in. You can use it. So you can see it just becomes its own interface on the side of Gmail. You're running things together that way. So, and I don't know if they have any kind of integration. My guess is probably they do have something, but I'll have to check it out and see. But that's how you add additional add-ons, by clicking this plus sign on the right side. So that's how that works. The big question I have, that's basically all the options, all the new features that I showed you, that how it works. And one of the things that is kind of questionable in my mind is what's the fate of Inbox? Because the Inbox, the only reason I used Inbox religiously before was because it has the snooze capability, where I could easily go and I can snooze stuff for later. And other than that, it's the same emails as Gmail. And so, having this ability to check things as done, or snooze them, or pin them, made it so it's pretty convenient to be able to manage email much better. The thing looked nice in Gmail. It was missing tons of features. It wasn't giving me ability to make phone calls. It wasn't giving me ability to, for example, to have some of these add-ons I used on on Gmail. A bunch of different things were definitely not quite here. So I used both. I never jumped out into inbox only, or I used inbox mostly for managing email faster and easier, and then I used the regular Gmail for all this other functionality that it has. And it worked pretty well because you couldn't do it. Now with Gmail having this snooze capability added, which is a huge deal, and having all these other embellishments added, I personally wonder, what's the point of using inbox? I mean, with snoozing being here, I realize they don't have pinning, for example, but you have stars. So, you can even use it more elaborately with stars. So stars can, take place of pinning. And of course, you have labels, everything like before. You can do that too. And you have the snoozing. So there's really not any particular big reason to use inbox anymore. So Google is planning to kill it, or they're planning to have it join the graveyard along with the Google Spaces and Google Wave and Google RSS Reader. If that's the plan or what they're going to do. I mean, I haven't read anything about it, and I don't know what they're going to do. But it makes one wonder, though, what's going to happen to the inbox app, which I actually did like a lot. And I still like it a lot. It's just right now with Gmail having this kind of capability added, I may be able to get away with everything I need to do here. Okay, so with that, I think we covered pretty much everything. The only other thing I would add that they haven't, at least it hasn't rolled out to me yet, is several people mentioned in the press before that Google, before it even came out, that Google is coming out with the ability to send temporary messages, kind of like Snapchat for email. The idea was you would send a message, somebody opens it up, and then the message is gone permanently. So it would be one of these kind of sensitive, very short lifespan Gmail capabilities. I haven't seen it happen yet. It may be coming, but I haven't seen it yet. I don't have it on my interface. I would imagine it would be something to do with when you compose a brand new message, there should be something that says, it's a temporary, make it temporary and make it basically die. But I don't see that option here, so it's something that hasn't come in yet. But I'm sure they'll most likely release it, and it's gonna be available and visible, so you can send messages that auto delete, basically. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's I think we pretty much covered everything in terms of all the new features, capabilities. As you can see, there are a few things. People made a huge deal about. Oh my God, brand new Gmail. Yeah, I mean, it's a new Gmail. It does have some new features, but basically it's the same old Gmail, but just a few new features that are very nice. And the look is a little bit different, a little bit nicer, but it's not a major revamp, like a completely different beast. It's the same exact Gmail. Snoozing is a big deal because it's a new thing, but snoozing, we had an inbox, so it's not dramatic, like, oh my God, like some of the people were saying about the new interface and complete refresh and everything else. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a refresh. It's nice that it does work like it used to work in many ways. It's nice to be able to see the thing looking a little bit better with material design. It's amazingly great to see that it's so much faster than Gmail before. I mean, it's noticeably, quite a bit noticeably faster. So that part is awesome. I mean, you just jump to the things and you click and there's the message. You click and there's the message. Like I said, I have a really fast new box. And so that's one of the reasons everything loads this dramatically quickly. So it looks like it's just instantaneous practically. And you delete it and boom and boom and boom. And so I love that kind of functionality, that kind of speed. It's something that's awesome. So before I turn over the reins here to Sundar Pichai for his keynote for I/O 2018, I just wanted to finish by saying that if you're interested in this campaigns button here, what it is actually, there's a company called Cloud HQ. As you can see, there's their logo right here, and they make some really interesting and useful Gmail add-ons. And one of them is called, let me just click on campaigns here so you can see it. It's called, they call it King Mail, I think they call it, yeah, King Mail. And so what happens is it comes up with this thing, and you can click on New Campaign, for example, and then it gives you a display of, and it shows you my existing campaigns here, and it allows you to put a name for the campaign. It allows you to import your recipients from a CSV or Excel format file, which need to have email and first and last name. So, it's kind of limited in terms of what you can mail merge. Basically, it's a mail merge capability, or email merge, I should say. And you can also import from Google Contacts or manually enter. So once you put in the name, get your recipients in there, and they have help in terms of if you need help. Then it shows you here kind of a template for the email, which you can use one of their existing templates by clicking here, and it comes up with all kinds of different templates you can use, or you can use you could just type in your own message and just make your own. And they have formatting here, kind of like a little editor. So you create your message. Then when you click on preview, it'll actually show you what a real message will look like based on what you selected, based on your list of people, and show you. So you want to make sure that it comes up with the right. So it says, "Dear John," it doesn't say "Dear first name." It actually has the right stuff you put in, so it merges it correctly. And so once that's in place, it allows you to go ahead and either schedule when to send it or send it right now. And the way this particular MailKing works, it sends it directly from your email mailbox as you. So in other words, it's not like a separate service, and Google then marks these emails like this may not have been sent by such and such, which is what you normally get with these campaigns of sending it using other software. This thing actually creates and sends the messages right from your sent. When you go to your sent folder on the left there, it'll show you every single message it sent. Even though you have a list of 1,000 people, you'll have 1,000 messages in your sent that went out. You still need to be careful with Google's limits. So you can't send more than 100 per day, I believe it used to be, and 500. I'm sorry, no, 100 at a time and 500 per day. You still need to be careful so they don't lock your account. But other than that, basically, it does a beautiful job. And so you can use this to send personalized messages from your Gmail without a lot of headaches or hassles, or worried about additional software or anything. It's that simple. You just click on campaign, and then they show you statistics: how many people opened it, how many people read it, things like that. So it's pretty convenient that way. So it's a free add-on called MailKing from Cloud HQ. So if you want to check it out, you'll be able to do the same thing. I used it, definitely recommend it. They have a few little bugs they found, but for the most part, it does a really nice job. So with that, again, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and we'll talk again soon on another topic. Take care.